again in thanking our Chief Executive for certainly taking the time to come along and officially open our conference today. Very much appreciated. As you'll see in your packs, the aim of the conference today is to further develop your understanding of the importance of early attachment and the impact on the individuals when needs are not met. North Lanarkshire Council had its first Nurture Conference back in 2015. It was there the concept of a collaborative approach to nurture was introduced. It was from then, Investing in Nurturing Lives and Communities logo, as you can see up here on the stage, was launched. You'll also see the NLP logo in your packs, which stands for the North Lanarkshire Partnership, which incorporates all practitioners and partners. Last night I came across this quote, and it's to do with a conference. Nothing compares to a good conference. The atmosphere of being immersed in a crowd of people who share the same passions as you, the lessons you learn and advice you take in, and the friends you get to meet and the new ones you make. You leave a good conference re-energized, full of zeal for the job and bursting with fresh ideas. Hopefully, the range of speakers and activities today will inspire and motivate you in your work. I'm delighted now to introduce North Lanarkshire's Principal Educational Psychologist, Alison MacDonald. You'll need to forgive Alison because she might come across today as very nervous, because on Monday of next week, she's taking part in a week-long validated self-evaluation process with Education Scotland. So we're absolutely delighted she has managed to fit us in today. And I was asking people here this morning if they provide a wee bit of water for some people, but for Alison, what we've done is we've put a wee G&T here just to settle the nerves. So could I ask you to join me in welcoming Alison up to the stage?
Gerard, thank you very much for that introduction. You've obviously got to know me pretty well over a short time. And as Gerard says, I am rather nervous, partly about validated self-evaluation next week, but also just, I'm always struck when I come here about the large numbers of people who are here to share the conference that you've described. So it's great to be here again, back in the Investing in Nurturing Lives and Communities conference, and to have the opportunity to talk to you a bit this morning about the film that we've made since last year, since our conference last year, and also to launch that film. And you'll see in your packs that the link to that film, in your walking workshop pack, the link to that film is there. And you'll be able to use that as a resource. But what I'd like to do is just remind us a little bit about how we got here. And we've already heard this morning about the partnership and the importance of the partnership. And some time ago, across the partnership in North Lanarkshire, when we were embarking on our early years collaborative work, we agreed and decided that we needed a common underlying principle to guide us. And what we came up with was the idea of attachment, and understanding attachment really being our theme for our working together. And the reason for that was because we knew what the evidence told us about the importance of those early years, and also the importance of attachment really throughout the lifespan, the lifelong implications of the early start, just as Paul has really been describing the importance of that. And also the implications when needs are unmet. And many of us who work with older, vulnerable children recognise that many of them have not had their attachment needs met, and that really compromises their well-being, their ability to settle to learn and benefit from education and the opportunities that life has to offer. So as a partnership, we felt this is really important for us. This will really guide us in the work that we're doing. But of course, as is inevitable across partnerships, we were coming from different perspectives. We had different thoughts and ideas about what attachment really means, and that depended on the kind of setting that we worked in, our professional background, what our understandings were. So we decided that what we needed to do was develop a working definition, an operational definition of attachment. And those of you who've been at the conferences before will be aware of that. We've spoken about that at our conferences. And the idea of that was so that we had a shared understanding across the partnership. What will it look like? When we see it, what will it look like? Something really concrete for all of us to work with. So that shared understanding is important, giving meaning to what do we actually mean by attachment and the development of attachment, and how can each of us in our professional roles contribute to promoting and developing positive attachments for children and giving them that good start in life. And also, if you know what it looks like and know what you're aiming at, it helps you to evaluate, well, how are we doing with this? Are we doing okay? Are we getting it right? Are there things that we need to do differently? So that was the purpose of developing the operational definition. And we've often said it is the longest operational definition in the world, but it has a lot of detail, which I think is quite important. So following on from one of our conferences, it was suggested that it would be quite good actually to have a resource that would unpack the definition and provide some detail around it. And from that, the idea of a film was born. And since that time, we've been working on putting together a film which will cover all the elements of the operational definition, but hopefully bring it more to life in terms of providing illustrations and video clips and comments from others, really just to give it deeper meaning and help people to think about, well, what might this look like in my setting? How can I use this work and this understanding to help children and families? I think it's also important to say that it's very important for families too to be receiving the same kind of consistent messages, and that was part of the purpose of us developing that shared understanding. So the film is actually a series of short films, so that you can dip in and out of it depending on what element of it you're most interested in. It covers the developmental steps of attachment and goes into some detail about those, and also some detail about the implications of unmet needs and what we might see in children whose needs haven't been fully met. And that can guide us and help us to think about, well, what is it we need to do to support these children? What's the best approach to getting it right for them? The film also contains footage of people who've been brave enough to step up to the camera and shared their practice with us and demonstrate in a practical way how the thinking around attachment has translated into what they do in their day-to-day practice. And I would really like to thank these people for doing that, because it really brings it alive, I think, and takes us from the kind of more theoretical perspective to here's what's actually happening across our partnership. So really a big thank you to the people brave enough to do that, and you'll see from the films, when you see the films, how good and helpful that is. I would also like to thank Cheryl Valentine, because Cheryl really is the person who has taken the idea and translated that into the reality. And those of you, I know you all know Cheryl, she has approached this with her usual lovely commitment and enthusiasm. But it took a lot more than that. It took a lot of hard graft. It took a lot of organisation and coordination, and she really stuck with it. And she's the person responsible for getting it from idea to reality. So a big thank you to Cheryl. Like Paul, I think I would like to end on a bit of a personal note. My son and his wife, who live in New Zealand, had their first child 9 months ago. And as new parents, they had a bit of a tricky start, and their baby Amelia was a little bit unsettled. And I know this would never happen here, But in New Zealand, the health visiting advice for the newborn baby was, just leave her to cry for 10 minutes. And I broke my parenting your adult child first rule, never interfere in their lives, and said, don't do that, Ian. I did, of course, explain to him why that was not a good idea. But of course, it's quite hard when you're on the other side of the world from your adult children to be able to, to have access to breaking your don't interfere in their lives rule. So at one stage when the films were not quite in a raw state, but still a work in progress, I had the idea of maybe sending him the link because I thought he might be quite interested in this now. And what more would you want than a talking head, which is your mother, There are some ways you can't get away from you. So anyway, we had the usual kind of polite exchange over WhatsApp. That's good, Mum, good on you. And oh, thanks. And then he came back, and this was really telling for me because what he said was, in his WhatsApp message, no, seriously. And if Ian says, no, seriously, it's serious. And he said, it really spoke to me as a new parent. It made me recognize the little things, if you know what I mean. And I thought, yeah, I know what you mean. And those little things are actually really big things. And I think it's important that we all remember that too as a partnership. So I hope that the films will also speak to you. And I hope too that they will help us in our efforts to provide a best start in life for our children, for all our children in North Lanarkshire, and to help and support them to realise their full potential. Thank you.